This is an assumption question. This last sentence here is the conclusion of the argument, and the missing link is between the information given here and the conclusion. See, the key information here is that the information regarding major issues is progressively sensationalized and distorted as it goes up each step in the news organization's hierarchy. And finally, it reaches the editor-in-chief. The conclusion is that the editor-in-chief is not as well informed regarding the ground reality as the lower-level journalists are. We need an answer choice that strengthens the conclusion that the editor-in-chief is not as well informed regarding the ground reality as the lower-level journalists are, and we need the answer choice to be something that must be true for the argument to hold ground. That the journalist should be rewarded is just a general recommendation. This has no bearing on the conclusion of the argument, and this is not something that must be true for the conclusion to hold ground. So this cannot be a valid assumption. Similar problem with answer choice C, that honesty is more important at higher levels than it is at lower levels, is a general opinion. This does not have any bearing on the conclusion of the argument. So this cannot be a valid assumption. Answer choice D as well delves into what should be done, and this information has no bearing on the conclusion of the given argument. See, the argument is about the current state of matter. It is not about what should be done to correct the state of matter. We need to strengthen the conclusion reached here through a valid assumption. Answer choice E talks about some general statement of fact. This has no bearing on the conclusion of the argument, and thus this cannot be a valid assumption. Please also note that choices C, D, and E do not provide any information that must be true for this conclusion to hold ground, and therefore this is another reason why these three answer choices, just like choice B, cannot be a valid assumption. An assumption is something that strengthens the argument, and it must be true for the conclusion of the argument to hold ground. Let's confirm answer choice A now. See, the conclusion is that the editor-in-chief is not as well informed regarding the ground reality as the lower-level journalists are, and this conclusion has been reached on the basis that information regarding major issues is progressively sensationalized and distorted as it goes up each step in the news organization's hierarchy. For all of this to hold, it is important to establish that the editor-in-chief does not obtain information from any other source, and the only source of information for the editor-in-chief is the lower-level journalists. Answer choice A strengthens the conclusion, and yes, it is something that must be true for the argument to hold ground. Let's apply the assumption negation test. Negate it, and you get that the editor-in-chief obtains information regarding the ground reality from sources other than the lower-level journalists. So in this case, if the editor-in-chief obtains information regarding the ground reality also from other sources, then this problem of sensationalization and distortion will no longer apply, and this conclusion here will be weakened. So answer choice A passes the assumption negation test as well. A is going to be the correct answer choice. Please remember, assumption negation test is something that I apply in these videos just for your conceptual clarity. You should not apply it every time. This takes significant extra time. You should apply it only when you are really confused.